All right, picture this for a second. You've just moved to a brand new country. You're trying to settle into a new job, a totally new culture, basically a completely alien environment. You're sitting there at your desk, and suddenly the phone rings. Now, usually that's a simple everyday occurrence, right? But for you, in this specific moment, it's absolutely terrifying. You know the person on the other end is going to speak in a foreign language at native speed, and you realize you're completely frozen. The anxiety just spikes, your mind goes entirely blank, and you're just sitting there staring at this ringing phone.
Now that exact panic-inducing scenario, it isn't just some hypothetical situation. It's actually a very real experience that Ryuho Okawa, the author of the foundational book we are exploring today, Think Big, went through during a corporate assignment in the United States. In this explainer, which traces its roots back to a really pivotal lecture he gave on April 19, 2008, we are unpacking his incredible insights on how to actively pioneer your future. You see, despite being a highly capable guy, Okawa found himself wrestling with these immense language barriers and the deep culture shock of his new assignment. He was literally freezing up when it came to everyday tasks like just answering the phone.
And honestly, I think we can all relate to this on some level. We've all had those moments where we hit a breaking point. It might not be a foreign language for you, maybe it's launching a new business, taking on a massive project at work, or just dealing with a sudden huge wave of life changes. When you are operating way outside your comfort zone, the basic tasks, the phone calls, the emails, the small decisions, they suddenly morph into these monumental hurdles. It feels totally overwhelming. You start doubting your own abilities, and that hesitation, it can completely derail your progress.
Okay, let's dive into this, because how he got out of that paralysis is the absolute foundation of our toolkit today. He didn't use some complex, multi-layered psychological strategy. No, he shifted his entire reality with literally just two simple words: I can. He decided to just go for it, to stop worrying about perfect grammar or sounding foolish, and simply declare to himself, I can. That aggressive pivot, that flat-out refusal to be a victim of his circumstances, became his massive turning point. It's the realization that breaking through a plateau starts entirely with a defiant shift in your own mindset.
Section 1. Big Dreams and Intermediate Goals.
Because, let's be real, a positive mindset alone isn't going to build an empire. You absolutely need structure. Once you've accepted that you can do it, you have to define what it actually is. To pioneer a new future, you've got to have a massive vision. But a vision without a roadmap, well, that's just a daydream. So here is how we bridge that gap. Step 1 is to envision a massive dream. Really give yourself permission to think huge. Step 2 is where the magic happens. You must establish intermediate goals. Think of it like this. If your ultimate dream is reaching the peak of Mount Everest, your intermediate goals are your base camps. You obviously can't leap to the top in one single bound, and staring at the peak the whole time will just intimidate you. You map out the base camps, and then, step 3, you just focus entirely on executing the immediate next step to get to that very first camp. It turns the impossible into the highly practical.
Section 2. Planting Seeds of Positivity.
And this brilliantly illustrates a core metaphor Okawa uses. Think of your mind, especially during your student days or really any formative period of intense learning, as a fertile garden. The harvest you reap in your future is directly, undeniably linked to the seeds you plant in that soil right now. To guarantee a rich harvest, you have to be super intentional about your seeds. Broaden your interests way beyond your immediate bubble. Read exceptional, challenging books. When you actively consume high-quality ideas like that, you are systematically cultivating positive thoughts. You are packing your subconscious with the exact raw materials it needs to solve problems, recognize opportunities, and keep an optimistic outlook when things inevitably get tough. But, let's be totally real for a second. Every garden gets weeds. And when you are chasing big goals, the most aggressive, invasive weed out there is fear. Fear of failure, fear of what other people think, fear of the unknown. If you let it grow, it will completely choke out those positive seeds. So how do you get rid of it? You use the ultimate weed puller, faith. And in this context, faith is a profound, unwavering belief, whether that's in a higher power, in your guiding purpose, or just in your own potential. It's utilizing that deep conviction as a weapon to aggressively root out terror and anxiety the exact second they start to sprout.
Section 3. Mastering Time and Action.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how we take that thriving mental garden and unleash it into the physical world to generate massive output. It's all about how high achievers completely reframe our concept of a 24-hour day by utilizing what's called fragmented time. We all have the exact same amount of time, but we tend to focus only on the big chunks, right? Sleep and core work. But consider all those smaller slices of time. The 15 minutes you spend commuting,
the 10 minutes just waiting for a meeting to start, those short little breaks between tasks. If you can learn to effectively utilize these tiny pockets of fragmented time to read, to plan, to answer a few quick emails, you suddenly unlock hours of hidden potential every single day that most people literally just throw away.
And how do you actually use that extra time? By upgrading your operating system. Most of us are taught sequential work. Start task A, finish task A, then, and only then, move on to task B. It's safe, sure, but it's incredibly slow. Okawa advocates for something called simultaneous parallel work. Basically, this means juggling multiple projects at once. While you are waiting for a response on one project, you are actively pushing forward on another. It allows your subconscious to kind of chew on a complex problem in the background while your conscious mind tackles something more straightforward. It literally multiplies your output. But there is a catch. Actually, scratch that, it's more like a strict requirement. So the crucial point is, simultaneous parallel work entirely falls apart if you are a procrastinator. To juggle multiple things successfully, you absolutely must develop a habit of instant decisions and immediate action. You cannot let tasks pile up on your desk or sit unread in your inbox. When a problem arises, analyze it quickly, make a firm decision, and execute on it immediately. You have to keep that momentum flowing. Speed of implementation is for sure your ultimate competitive advantage here.
So, we've covered some really incredible ground in this explainer. From breaking through the total paralysis of new challenges with a simple "I can," to mapping out those vital intermediate goals, we've talked about pulling the weeds of fear with the weapon of faith, unlocking the hidden hours of fragmented time, and multiplying your output through decisive parallel action. But as we all know, knowledge is only potential power until you actually apply it. So I want to leave you with one final thought to chew on as you go about your day. Look at your own life, look at your own ambitions, and ask yourself right now, what specific seed will you plant today to pioneer your future? Think about it, decide, and then take action.